Flash fiction. My nephew. Before my sister birthed my nephew, her husband moved to America. I never changed his diaper, but I brought her food and removed the trash from her room. I became my sister's favorite brother and her son became my favorite nephew. We were the youngest of 14 siblings. All the others married and moved out of my father's home in New Delhi. Once my nephew was 9 months old, I would put him in the bike basket anytime I went to the market. He loved it. My brother-in-law sent tickets for my sister and my nephew to fly to Chicago to start a new life. He was 2 years old by then. I missed them both, but I knew they lived a life of luxury in America, so I was happy for them. In New Delhi, my parents got me married, though none of my siblings could make it. They were all either in Pakistan, UK, Canada, Australia, UAE or Singapore, 13 siblings and no one came to support me. I begged my sister to come, but she indirectly said they did not have enough money. I understood that her husband was too cheap to send her. When my nephew turned 10, my sister and her family visited us. By then, my father had died, but we enjoyed their visit. I didn't tell my mother or wife how stingy my brother-in-law was. They would not have believed me because of all the gifts, even though I knew they were just for show. New Delhi squeezes a person to madness. The money from my father's inheritance was running out and I could not get a job. I told my older brothers I needed money to support our mother and they all sent me money. But after our mother passed, my 2 oldest brothers stopped. They said since they tried to help me get an education when I was young, but I refused, they owed me nothing. They didn't understand my situation. Not everyone is an education person. My sister sent an aerogram saying my nephew would graduate and start college in Chicago. I wanted to send him a present because I felt like he was my son, but couldn't afford to. We talked on the phone once in a while. That summer, I told my sister I wanted her to sponsor me so I could start a business in Chicago and move my family there. She loved the idea and convinced her husband to let me stay with them. My hope was bigger than the world when I arrived at O'Hare Airport. My sister cooked dishes from Uttar Pradesh just like our mother. She became like my mother and I became friends with my nephew, a young man now. Between his classes, we talked. I advised him about life. After a year of trying to start a business selling handmade leather goods from India, I realized it would not work. The American market expected things to last forever. It was ridiculous. I left my wife and 2 sons in New Delhi for nothing. America was a scam. The money they showed in movies was only for rich people. My sister gave me a few $100s each month to send back home. One day, the news said a high school student shot and killed his teacher and some students from his class. When my nephew came home from college, I was in front of their TV. He asked me if I heard what happened. I told him I wished that boy shot more kids. He didn't understand how angry I was with America, but he kept his mouth shut out of respect for his uncle. I returned to India with new debts, but my sister started sending me $500 United States dollars each month. Her husband wisely didn't interfere between my sister and me. She understood how much I struggled and my need to support my family. We lived a luxurious life in India after that. I told my other brother about my plight and he sent me money too. If my family had to stay in India, why shouldn't we live like kings? They're no better than us. My brother stopped sending me money one day. He said he heard that our sister was also sending me money. His head was hotter than a tandoor. I told him to shut his butt, then he said something about respecting elders and hung up on me. Once my sister passed away, my brother-in-law kept sending me money because he wanted to honor his wife. He's not so bad, but my nephew convinced him to stop. How could they need money more than me while they live in America? I live in the filth of New Delhi. I had to drive a taxi like an animal to support my family. My nephew visited India again, but before he arrived in New Delhi, I called him. I said, I'll pick you up from Indira Gandhi Airport. He said he wasn't comfortable. What was I going to do? Yes, I was mad at him for stopping the money, but he was still my baby. I changed his diapers. I helped my sister change his diapers anyway. He visited every relative from his father's side of the family in every village in the country, but he refused to visit me. I wanted to grab him by the collar, slap him and choke him. He had the audacity to stop the money then ignore me. Once he returned to Chicago, he posted pictures from his visit online. Damn him. Shame on him for making an old man with a wife and 2 sons drive a taxi.